Hey everyone, my name is Nick Scalzo, and today I am presenting my final project called Moral Hazard and Screening in Today's AI Market. This is for Econ 520. Essentially, I pulled two Wall Street Journal articles that both relate directly to chapters 19 and 20. Even though they cover different situations, they both show how fast AI is growing and how economic concepts like moral hazard and screening determine how risky or effective these decisions are. So I'll walk through each article, connect them to the concepts, and then break down the predictions and insights I took away from both. So basically for our agenda overview, so key topics for discussion. First, like I said, I'll summarize both articles. I'll do article one first and then followed like this as my list shows on the screen, and then I'll do that again for the second article. And I'll go into pretty good detail on my analysis and my business predictions based on the evidence and patterns in the articles. And then at the end, I'll explain why I chose those two articles and what they reveal about the future of AI. So for my first Wall Street Journal article, I chose AI adoption among workers is slow and uneven. Bosses can speed it up. So the reason I chose this one was I really enjoy AI and just how much it's progressed over the past couple of months. Really, I mean, a couple of years, but over the past couple of months, it's just getting crazy. And there's just so much that goes into it that a lot of people don't talk about. So essentially, this first article is telling us how U.S. companies are investing heavily into AI, like billions and billions of dollars in infrastructure, tools, and training programs, but at the same time, the employees aren't adapting to it as quickly as the leadership expected. So what's happening is the gap between executive enthusiasm and real world usability. Leaders are under like massive pressure from the market and from competitors to show that they are all in on AI. As you can see with like US versus China, that's the biggest race right now. Back in the day, it was Russia versus the US with the space race. Now we got the AI race with the US and China. So these companies are spending all the money and they're making announcements and they're just trying to get everything as fast as possible. But inside the company, the employees are saying the exact opposite. They don't have the training, the support, and the workflow integration to like actually use the tools productively. And inside this article, it shares real data. For example, 48% of workers surveyed said training would significantly increase their AI use. Another 45% said that they need AI integrated into the systems they already use. And 41% said simply having access to the correct AI tools would make a difference. So basically, instead of a smooth rollout, companies have a huge disconnect. So that takes me to my next slide. And this is on the economic concept of moral hazard in AI. So the numbers I just got are from this graph up here on the right hand corner. So just showing you where I got my numbers from, and that's directly from the article. So let's talk about moral hazard because this article is honestly the perfect example. Moral hazard happens when the person making the risky decision isn't the one who suffers the consequences if things go wrong. In this case, executives are approving big AI spending, they're rolling out new tools, and they're setting AI-driven goals. But the employees and not the leadership are the ones who have to use these tools. They have to deal with the errors, they have to learn new workflows, and they have to pick up the extra work when the AI isn't functioning properly. This creates a situation where leadership takes the risk, but employees carry the cost. And the trading chart I included on this slide shows the evidence. The workers are basically saying they need way more support to use AI safely and effectively. So the more leadership pushes, the bigger that moral hazard gets. So my next slide is talking about screening challenges in AI tools. So now let's connect the second big concept from this chapter. Screening is all about separating good options from the bad ones when you don't have incomplete information. And right now in the AI market, information is extremely incomplete. AI vendors, they all claim to have the best model. We have OpenAI, we have Gemini, we have Grok. Those are just a few. Every company promises higher accuracy, better productivity, cleaner data, better integration, but the leadership doesn't have the technical expertise to verify it. They can't truly tell which tools are high quality versus which ones are just for the hype. This leads to two major screening failures. First, companies adopt tools that don't actually solve the problems they're meant to fix. And second, companies overspend because they're choosing based on marketing and not evidence. In a fast-moving AI environment, bad screening becomes expensive very quickly. And as we see on here, some of the challenges are quality evaluation, asymmetric information, and vendor uncertainty. So for my next slide, I want to talk about a little bit of an analysis and prediction from Article 1. So my prediction of this article is that companies that build strong screening processes will completely outperform the companies that don't, meaning the winners will be the companies that actually slow down, test the tools, train their workers, and choose AI based on real evidence and not hype. And I work in the hotel/restaurant business, and this that all makes complete sense because you can do something every day and be good at it, but if you don't have a system in place, it's not going to help you in the long run. It might help you. You might be able to do things day to day, but when you try to plan things weeks and weeks and weeks, you're not able to because you don't have the systems in place. So essentially, these companies need to go in there with real data-driven systems to help their employees out. That's really what they need to do. And the companies that are ignoring the screening and push AI adoption too fast, just because like other competitors are doing it, they are just going to waste a lot of time, resources, money, and then experience more internal problems. And you see it now. So essentially, my business advice to them would be to pause, test, analyze, train, and then scale. That helps reduce the moral hazard and improves ROI at the same time. So next, I'll talk about the next article that I covered, and this was about teens are saying tearful goodbyes to their AI companions. Chatbot maker character AI is cutting off access, citing mental health concerns. Teens are distraught. I cried over it for days. So this second article is kind of a little bit different because it's talking about how teens are using AI for emotional support or therapy. This tool essentially lets users create characters and talk to them like they're real people. A lot of teens are turning to these AI bots for advice on anxiety, depression, relationships, school stress, family stress, and just more things like that. The big issue, though, is that there's almost no guardrails. Parents don't know how conversations are happening, there's no screening for vulnerable users, and AI systems themselves have no accountability if they give harmful advice. So even though it seems like a harmless chat tool, it ends up playing a big role in teen emotional health, and that's where the risk comes in. So let's talk about the moral hazard in consumer AI. First, we'll talk about these. There's no consequences, there's teen vulnerability, and there's safety conflict. The AI faces no consequences for giving bad advice. Only the teen does. The AI company is financially motivated to maximize engagement. That's how the platforms grow. So economic incentives actually encourage longer, deeper conversations, not necessarily safe ones. So this means that the AI can push into topics it shouldn't or give advice with zero understanding of the user's mental health. That's moral hazard basically. It's the decision maker doesn't pay the price, the user does. So the screening challenges for at-risk youth, there's the vulnerability detection, parental oversight, and then limited guardrails. So the screening issue here is obviously huge. These platforms can't reliably identify which teens are struggling, which teens might need real help, or which teens are using AI as a replacement for human support. So there's no parental oversight. There's no strong age filters. You can join at any age. And there's no automated detection for like risky conversations or risky users. So the platform is basically using every user the same, even though the consequences were very dramatically different depending on the situation. And this is a very serious screening failure, especially when the audience is targeted towards minors. So my analysis and predictions for this article is that regulation is guaranteed. It has to be. AI platforms that help teams with emotional support will eventually be required to add screening tools and safety guardrails. And in my opinion, I don't know why these didn't beforehand. The companies that do adopt these guardrails will earn early trust and credibility. And the companies that ignore it are going to face lawsuits, public backlash, and eventually government intervention, in my opinion. And then this is a situation where screening isn't optional, it's essential. So the reasons that I selected these articles was I picked the two articles because they show two completely different sides of AI. They show the corporate AI and the consumer AI, and both sides show how clear examples of moral hazard and screening breakdowns. The first article shows leadership pushing AI faster than employees can handle, and the second article shows teams relying on AI systems that aren't designed to handle mental health conversations. Even though the topics are different, the economic concepts explain both situations perfectly. And as you can see, I wrote timeliness, economic concepts, and policy relevance. And just to end, I just really like this quote, and it was managing risk is essential in AI. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.